I just really liked it. It was like, here's the roadmap. If you can do what we do, you'll do well. And so that's what I really appreciated.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Annuity Fundamentals. I am your host, Kylie Malat, joined by our co-host, the one and only Mr. Ryan Anderson. And today, from Annuity Fundamentals, with Annuity Fundamentals, we have one of our own who's gone through the class, and we've sure enjoyed Katherine. I'm introducing Katherine for the first time, and so she went through our class. So today we're just kind of gonna go through a tutorial of what she experienced. She's been in the PNC business, Medicare, ACA, so I'm sure you're listening to this and be like, well, Katherine, so have I. And so she's been there, she knows it, she's been in the trenches. So Katherine, thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to hear from you.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
Now, you came through our class here a couple of months ago, and you're the owner of the Sanneman agency in Kansas, if I'm not mistaken. You also work in Oklahoma and some of the surrounding states there. You've been in the industry for 6 years, focusing on PNC. And over the last few years, you've had Medicare, you've added annuities with us here earlier this year. You're doing the ACA and everything that's involved with all of that. Now, as we're talking, I want to kind of get a little bit of background from you so that as folks that are listening to this, they can basically take your story and apply it to themselves. So tell us how you got started in the industry. Tell us a little bit about your current business model and the type of business you do, and what brought you to Annuity Fundamentals, and how you basically came across this, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So a little background on me. I was in banking actually most of my career, and came from a very entrepreneurial family, but was probably a little chicken to go out and start something on my own. So I kind of always was keeping my eye out for opportunities. And there was an opportunity to purchase 2 retiring agents' books of business in the PNC world. And so I took the leap and did that. In my mind, every job I've ever had was all about relationship building, and this was the same opportunity, basically. I love helping people understand and educating them on, insurance, but in my past in banking and different things. And so I started off in the PNC world, and not too long after that, a guy stopped by my office and was like, hey, have you thought about selling Medicare? I'm like, no, I don't know what I'm doing in the PNC world. And so fast forward a few months, and there was a little group of us, lady agency owners, and we all went through the training together. So we had, a little back and forth and questions we could run off of each other. And as we've been going, the Medicare side of the business is the side that I love the most. And I, did ACA for the spouses that were younger, and, everything's been kind of just as a part of that, and I really love it. So when I saw you guys on Facebook and Annuities, and I'd heard of Annuities, I thought, well, that's just makes sense to add another layer to what I'm already doing, because I'm a pretty good mimic. I can, and that's what I loved about your class, is it really kind of showed you how to do it. Well, I can do that. And so I can talk and I can get information. So I knew that would probably be a really good, easy add-on for me. And so that's kind of where I am.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I like that you just said it was a nice, easy add-on, because, there's so many agents who get caught up in like, I have to be perfect at everything before I can add something or do something else. And there's a little bit of both, right? You have to also know your craft, right? Know what you're talking about, but also take some risks. And annuities, that's how Ryan and I got started, was through Medicare. So I can relate to that, just having that be a stepping stone of, you're already getting in there, you're educating them about Medicare, you're helping them really with the very first step into retirement. Mm-hmm. Like, if you really think about it, that's what we do as Medicare agents, is we started off with health insurance, and then as we have the conversation and get into the fact finder, then we can say, hey, we can actually help in a couple different areas. So I guess a little bit about the class. So you started with PNC, first banking, then PNC, health, ACA, Medicare. What stood out to you with the transition of like, how am I going to go from health to wealth? What in the class did you really take away from that was kind of your stepping stone?
Well, what I really liked was it was kind of like do what we do and you'll do well, kind of. It was build out your introduction, and if you do it correctly, then it draws people in and they know what you do and they're not surprised when you ask them questions.
Hmm.
And I have a pretty solid way of talking to people about Medicare, so it's been a little bit of a transition, kind of adding the extra language. But I won't lie, I think about it all the time, like, oh, I didn't say that right, or oh, I need to do that. But every time I say it, it gets a little better, and people have been really receptive, and and I really have focused on T65, people turning 65. So they're just coming into that arena. And so it is the perfect time to talk to them about adding the retirement aspect as well. So I just really liked it. It was like, here's the roadmap. If you can do what we do, you'll do well. And so that's what I really appreciated. The first two meetings I had after the class, it was like, okay, Angelique, I need to sign up. We need to schedule an appointment because I need you to do this with me. So that
Yeah.
was really exciting. But it's like, oh, that was pretty easy. I'm not great at it yet, but I'm getting there. So I'll just keep working at it.
No, you just swerved into two or three different things here. And this is something that we want to really kind of hit home with agents as they hear this. The whole purpose of this podcast is to inspire agents to realize, hey, you can do this. Doug McDermott, our partner, he's whenever you listen to him speak in person, he always says, your potential is unlimited. And that's his big thing. And he says that the first real struggle that an agent has is overcoming the stumbling blocks in their head that I can't do this. I'm a PNC agent. I'm a Medicare agent. I'm a life agent. I'm a real estate agent. Whatever it is, those are the things they have to go through and do. And you swerved into two or three things that I think are critical. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the class, that we do have, it's a 6-week long class with Annuity Fundamentals, and we teach what we call the key three. Now, the key three are basically how to properly introduce yourself, how to go through and do a proper fact finder, and how to find opportunities, the money and those things. Now, when we went through and on the first day of class, I always ask an agent here, I got a couple of questions here I want to kind of follow up with as we're going through this, that I always ask an agent who's generally a Medicare agent, introduce yourself to me. Did I pick on you? Were you one of those that I had do that first day? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I don't feel like I was, but I feel like we all had to talk on every class. So
Oh, you did.
it could have been
That's
for sure.
well, one of the things about it is that when we go through and we have them say introduce themselves, and I say, okay, I'm a T65. You're sitting across the kitchen counter table from me, or it's a Zoom meeting like this. However you do your business, introduce yourself. And they come through and they say, well, hi, my name's Ryan. I'm with, XYZ Medicare agency, and I'm here to find the best plan for you as you're going through and on and on and on and on. And by doing that, they paint themselves into a corner as the Medicare person. There's a box there, and now all of a sudden, inadvertently, they've taken the opportunity for life insurance. They've taken the opportunity for indemnities, for PNC, and all of those things, annuities, off the table because they've introduced themselves as the Medicare agent. Now, as you go through here, and we teach them the language, and we try to customize it for everybody. I mean, you're a PNC agent. That's your foundation, and you've got these other additions too, and you're trying to grow your agency within these other solutions. Now, when you're in class and we'd have you demonstrate, we know what you're supposed to say. So if you screwed up, we know that. Kylie knows that. I know that. You know that. And it's like kind of the awkward thing. As you've taken these skills that we've helped you develop, and you've taken them into the wild and actually presented them to a client, have you had any pushback? Kind of talk through the first 2 or 3 times you actually went through the company introduction with a client, or you used the tee-up language. You said that you had Angelique, our partner, who, when the class is over, you're not on your own. So we've got people that'll attend meetings with you and help you. It's all part of the whole deal. But kind of walk through that. What was that like?
It was really, I mean, obviously they didn't know I fumbled my words. They didn't know that I wasn't 100% perfect. But just by mentioning the different things that I was able to help them with, they weren't surprised when we started going through the fact finder and I asked for permission to get some additional information just in case that's something that we can help them with. And that way we have all the information up front. And everyone has been very forthcoming. There's a couple people that are a little more, I have a financial advisor, and I haven't quite overcome that argument yet, but it's there, and I know the words I'm supposed to use, but sometimes it's I still freeze up. I mean, we all do. It's new, and so I don't have it I'm not as comfortable with the whole thing yet, but I know that it's coming. And when you can see how easy it is to get information from people, they already are there. They're already trusting you. They think that you're the smartest person in the room, so they're expecting questions. And so it's really been much easier. And it would be really easy to get in my head and be like, oh, I don't know anything about annuities. What am I going to do? But knowing that I can schedule an appointment and have one of you on the phone with me, I know that's not an issue right then. So that kind of helps alleviate some of those nerves going into it.
I couldn't agree more. I remember like just starting out and being told the same thing, right? Like if you follow these systems, you'll be successful. And you're like, yeah, but I don't know everything. And that can set like a set of panic in you as well. But going through and saying, okay, I know I can, have someone on the back end. For me, it was Ryan. And so when I was going through appointments, I knew I didn't know everything there was to know about annuities, but I knew enough to be dangerous, right? I knew enough to get the conversation going, and then I would bring him along with me to that second appointment, and then I would just be a sponge. And I would really like listen to everything he said and just read on my own and like talk to other people in the office or talk about annuities in general. And that, I feel like, changes your language too. When you talk about it more, you have an easier time discussing it. And so, yeah, I think having support, I've said a ton on the podcast, like having support is key. And I know independent agents, we typically think I can do it myself. But when it comes to writing annuities, you are talking about someone's entire livelihood. And so it's nice to, yes, be an independent agent, but also have some support and say, hey, I can call Kylie or Ryan or Angelique. You guys are going to be with me. In a year, will you be calling us? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Or maybe you'll be doing it on your own. And when you call us, you'll be like, hey, Kylie, I just closed $500,000. And I'll be like, yeah, you did. Right? And we celebrate together. And that's the whole point. So I appreciate you saying that, like, yeah, I don't know everything now, but I know if I called somebody, I'd have some help. And that's what we try and communicate to you guys in class. Like, hey, we want to be there when you close your first deal. And it's important to have someone in the room who does the next step, right? In the class, we go over Annuity 100. I mean, it's very basic language and getting into the conversation, but as far as like nuts to bolts with annuities, that goes on to Annuity 101 through 104. And that's something you also learn in person. So I appreciate you saying that, Katherine. When it comes to just like making appointments, let's talk about, there's agents, that's their biggest thing is how do I get in front of people? How do you get in front of people? How are you having these conversations?
Well, I mean, I always want to get more people, right? And more butts in seats is more sales. So that's always a challenge. I do a couple of different things. I do some Facebook marketing. I do some Medicare webinars through Facebook. And then I also do some old-fashioned mailing, to T65s in the area. And I take an approach of very much, it's not a form letter. It's not, all the things that I do. It's, hey, when you start looking for Medicare and you have questions, call me. And I get a lot of response from that just because it's not salesy. It's just I know this is going to be confusing. And so I mail 3 months before their 65th birthday, and I get a pretty decent return on that. So we keep doing that. My mom works for me, and she's part-time. She writes those cards for me. They're all handwritten. And so that's one part. And then I've really integrated the Facebook. But I know I'd really love to do the in-person seminars and things like that. So those are all things that, I'm working up to, if you will.
Well,
that paralysis by analysis.
A couple of things here that we talked about it, but that's actually one of the things that we also do at Annuity Fundamentals is we help with those things. We'll actually go out and, as far as train you on those, put those on. I spend about every other week of my life on the road. I mean, I'll be in Utah and Vegas next week. The week after that, I'm going to be in Florida. The week after that, I'm going to be in Seattle. Then I'm going to be in Alaska. Then I'm going to be in, and those are the things we do. But now, one of the things that you swerved into, I think, is really critical, and that is staying true to your core. as far as that you're a PNC agency, you're a Medicare agency. And what happens is when we start to go through and we work with agents and they see especially after they get their first couple of paychecks and all of a sudden, like, I can make this much on an annuity, and then they abandon everything that's got them there and they just focus on annuities. And it's, kind of, going big game hunting, and as far as forgetting the other stuff. That one of the things about this is, and especially with the approach we take, is being holistic in the home. That if you go through and you have that introduction, you do it correctly, you're a PNC agency, so you have the opportunity to get their home and their auto. Then you have an opportunity to get their Medicare. Then you have an opportunity to get their indemnities where the Medicare doesn't. Then you've got an opportunity to get the life insurance. Then we have an opportunity to get the financial services as well. And even if they don't have financial services, by having that other language in place and warning them in advance, I'm going to ask you about these 4 things I specialize in, whether that's debt elimination, estate planning, or the things I've already listed here. And we help folks with all those things. That they are expecting it, and therefore when you start to go down that path and ask them for it and find those opportunities, it's not an awkward conversation. Now, as you've gone through here, what was the biggest struggle you had with implementing the things that we trained you with?
Really just, when you do something for several years and you have your spiel, it's changing that. That's really, it's so easy to just fall back into that pattern. So I really have tried to make sure I mention all of the things. Again, not always perfectly, but I always try to go back to that introduction, that I'm mentioning all of the things that I want to do with them. And I figure the more I do it, the more flow I will have, just like I did with Medicare. That was awkward at first too. And then really just implementing that, because it opens the door without even really having to do much. And so I appreciate that approach, because like I said, I can mimic. You tell me what to say, which I obviously came up with my introduction with some help, but that really is not a hard process. It's just retraining yourself to say that every time.
And that takes some practice, no doubt about it. I mean, it's fun to watch the agents who are a little more seasoned, who have been in the business longer than, 2 or 3 years, or compared to agents who are brand new and their book of business is relatively small. They have almost an easier time, right? The newer agents, because they don't have any habits that they've picked up quite yet, or, scripts of their own, and they're still learning. And so you're not alone. When agents are a little more seasoned, they have a harder time transitioning because it is new and it is different, and you've been doing it your way and you've been successful at it. And the reason you took our class, like many others, are like, okay, well, I'm good at what I do and now I want to expand. And when you expand, that means your language changes. And even when it's uncomfortable, you're pushing through that and saying, well, that worked for me before and I'm successful. So I know, like, I always have that, but I want to be different. And if I want to be different, then I have to say different things. I have to do different things to create opportunity. I mean, gosh, you were talking about just... Ryan was talking about opportunities in the home, being a PNC, being a life, and being a Medicare. Like, are you kidding me? You have like 17 opportunities just in those 3 things. So you're talking to people and just like helping them in so many different avenues of their life. And then just adding annuities and financial services on top is really a blessing. I liked that you said you do it old school. Oh my gosh, I've totally been there. A straight up card saying, hey, you're turning 65. I know I'm one of the many mailing you, but I'm a real person. This is my handwriting. You know what I mean? And putting that personal touch. I mean, we've done that. We did that at our office. And I think that helps build some trust in and of itself, is how you approach people. And I think that's what it's all about when you get into this business, is building trust with the client. And it can be as simple as a handwritten note, or as simple as getting in front of a group of people at a workshop and letting them see you. And I think As long as you're being proactive, trying to get in front of people, that's what matters. And there was a gal in our office who wrote birthday cards, and she would get referrals from birthday cards, and that was her thing. When I tried it, not so much, like it
She
didn't
had
work
beautiful
for me.
handwriting too, though. I mean, her handwriting was exceptional. I mean, for me, it looks like chicken scratch, kind of a blind chicken trying to write with her feet. But anyways, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but she had amazing hand penmanship.
See what I mean? We all have different strengths. So one thing might work for somebody else that doesn't work for you, and vice versa. And I think finding something that has worked for you, Katherine, is the reason you're in business today. I mean, you've been doing this a while, and I think that don't sell yourself short by that. I know you're wanting to get into the workshop space, and that will come when you're ready.
Right.
But yeah, as far as like the class itself, do you feel like it gave you the tools necessary to get into the annuity conversations?
Yeah, I definitely do. And I think that's what appealed to me the most about your Annuity Fundamentals when I saw it, was that it's not like, hey, come sign up under us, and then good luck. You're an island, go figure it out. It was, we're going to train you how to do this. And, I appreciate that. You've been doing it, you've been successful, so obviously you have a way to do it that will work. And so I'm more than willing to learn. And so that's kind of where I was like, okay, this is where I want to get into annuities. I'm leaving money on the table, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't realize how much money they're leaving on the table, but you swerved into something there that I think is really critical. We have all worked for an exceptional salesperson. As far as if you think back, if you've been in sales at all, there's somebody along the way that, they're really good. They're a great salesperson, and they are. And then to go through here is like, show me how you do it, and they can't tell you. That those are two very different skill sets, to sell something and then to train someone to sell something. Right. And the trick is to find somebody who actually knows what they're doing, and to be able to, who can articulate that in bite-sized chunks that you can implement. And I think that's really one of the strengths of Annuity Fundamentals, is to be able to go through and do that. And to be able to, and the other piece is to kind of find agents where they are. We've got agents that, as far as like yourself, that came into, you've got a level of success in the business. You can't be in this business for 5 and 6 years, own an agency, and still be flat broke. It just doesn't work. So you've got a level of success there, but how do I take it to the next level? How do I implement these other pieces to it? That with my exact same systems that I've got here now, seeing the exact same people I am now, how do I increase my income $50,000 to $100,000 this year? And simply by adding this language is one of the things that we go through and do it. And one of the things we found is the agents that consistently do it, and we've got them time and time again, we can show you agent after agent after agent that have gone through and implemented it, they do well with it. But the people that come through the class, and then, I'm practicing, I'm going to get to it, I want to get this perfect before I start to use it, they fizzle and burn. They never work out because they won't implement it. And the ideal situation is, so we've got an agency owner with a few agents in there, to be able to go have all of them work through the class. That is the ideal situation, where you've got a clear leader who can train, or make sure, let us train, but make sure to follow up with their agents. Are you using the system? Are you using that company introduction every single time? It shouldn't be the exception when you use it. It should be every time. Are you using a fact find, whether it's the digital version or the written version? Are you using that tee-up language, meaning you have to ask about the money? Even if you're into a home that's probably there for a DSNP, you still ask about the money because it's a system. And I've sold a lot of annuities to folks that were on Medicaid. Just for whatever reason, there's just there's opportunities there. And it's like, how did you get on Medicaid? You've got this much money in the bank. I don't know. They approved me. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I was like, well, let's see if we can help you with this other area of your life. But I got to tell you, Katherine, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Really kind of nice to visit with you and to hear about how the tools are being implemented and how they're getting used. It's a wonderful thing to watch and to witness. But I do thank you for taking the time out of your day to join with us today.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I really look forward to, having more, time with you guys and with customers. So I'm learning the system even more. I can see the value, and I definitely think it's going to increase my business. So I'm excited.
Katherine, without a doubt, you're a winner, right? So, Ryan and I knew that, and Angelique too. She was like, "Oh, Katherine's she's something special. She's a go-getter." And once it clicks, it's going to click, and then you'll think, how did I ever not do this before? And so we appreciate you being on, like Ryan said. Thank you for your time, and we will definitely have you back. We'll do like a 1-year update of like where you were when you first took the class to where you are now, and to see those results we're excited about. But so thank you, Katherine, for joining us. And this message was brought to you by leadshop.org. So if you're in the business of trying to get in front of people and you want to look at doing a workshop, check out leadshop.org. That's who Ryan and I use to fill our rooms for workshops. So yeah, we're Annuity Fundamentals, and we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us.